All right, welcome to episode 9 of the Dugout Dads Local Sports Podcast, brought to you by Kobe McKinney with Heartland Realty, where our skills are questionable,
but our spirit is unstoppable.
I'm your host, Michael Hughes, to my co-host,
Jonathan Parker.
First off, we want to start out thanking our sponsors tonight. We want to thank Kobe McKinney for being our title sponsor from Underwood Realty. Hashtag Hollies for sponsoring our Player of the Week shirts that we're going to start giving out to all our Player of the Weeks. Shay Hale and Terry Collins with the Courier, without those guys, giving us our stats, we appreciate them giving their stats every week for our games, and then to Infinity Promotions for sponsoring our scores and recaps. And that being said, Jonathan, if you want to go ahead and jump into our scores and recaps.
I'll go ahead. Another great night of football. The weather started to cool down. Players are starting to hit harder, and it's just it feels more like football weather. We had a great night Friday night, and we'll go over some of the scores. I'm going to give you some scores that I don't typically give you because it's got some implications of playoffs coming up. You had South Pittsburgh beating a really good Chattanooga Prep team, 35-19. And I think the winner of that region or that region will play, and I'll cover that in a little bit, will play whoever is in Gornsville's region, whoever wins that region. Clay County with a 49-0 win over Red Bowling. We had Watertown with a 45-44 win over Grundy County. Monterey 49, Trouser County 7. Mount Juliet scored in the last 3 minutes to win 24-21. I know we had Chuck on. I know that was a big battle. And Mount Juliet was undefeated going into that game, and at one point it was 21-0 Lebanon.
Yeah, the last time I looked over, I flipped over Chuck, and Chuck and them had a great game. And they was, I just flipped it back because I knew they was going to win the ball game. I had no idea they lost.
Yep, the little running back hit the hole with about 2 minutes left in the game and to go up 24-21. Nashville Christian over Fayetteville 46-0. And you look at some of the standings in Class A. Of course, you got Clay County's 2-0. 6-2 overall. You got Gornsville 2-0. They're headed for a big battle in 2 weeks up in Clay County. And like I was talking about earlier, you've got the Region 3 1A. You've got Whitwell, South Pitt, Chattanooga Prep, Sale Creek, and Copper Basin. With Whitwell and South Pittsburgh's win over Chattanooga Prep, they're both 3-0. And are again, that's the last game of the season. That'll be probably for the region championship, barring, something happening there. Looking at the 2A standings, of course, we unfortunately lost. Smith County lost 35-6 this past Friday night to Westmoreland, giving them the region championship, meaning East Robb is second. And then Smith County and Monterey will be battling for that 3 spot next week, not this coming week, but the next week. And, looking at who we would play in that region, it would be coming out of Region 4 2A. You've got Marion County 1, Forest 2, Fayetteville 3, and Cannon County at 4. Now, a couple of those, Fayetteville plays Forest, and that will determine that 2 and 3 spot.
Yeah, and the bad thing about Smith County losing Friday night is now they got to travel.
Right.
There's no possibility of a home playoff game. Now they do have to travel. Which, talking to Matt a couple weeks ago, he was looking forward to trying to get that win so they could host a home playoff game. And unfortunately, that just did not happen.
Right. And you look at it, you look at the overall record of Fayetteville, the 3 seed over there, who's probably not going to beat Forest. They're 2-6. So it's a big game. That game against Monterey is even put more on it because, if we could win that game and finish in the 3 spot, it means we wouldn't have to go to the 1 seed, in that area. Looking at some of the other scores from the weekend, I'll flip over to some college scores. You had Western Illinois 37, Tennessee Tech 21. You had Maryville beating Huntington, it's Huntington, Alabama, and for Maryville, that's their hurdle that they had to get over. I think they had lost the last 5, and looking at it, Maryville's now 4-1, Huntington's 3-3, and also dug a little deeper into that and found out that the local athlete Bryson Claiborne from Trousdale led Maryville in rushing on Saturday with 13 carries for 44 yards. So he had a big performance against Huntington. They got over the hurdle there. So, and I know we've got a lot of our local kids, or a couple of our local kids that play up there.
And you think about that. We talked about Maryville a couple of times. We do have some local ties with Bryce Curry and Jimmy Enick both playing there, and then Cameron Spivey who just graduated from there.
Yes.
So I mean that's great to see a local athletes actually being standouts at Maryville College.
Yep. Then we had Georgetown, Kentucky, who was in a huge battle with Cumberland. They come out the victors 14-9 over Cumberland University. That was a really close ball game. I looked at some of the stats on that game, and they were both just very equally matched up. Vanderbilt with a big 24-14 win over Ball State. They continue on West End. They're 5-2. Man, one more win. Of course, their stretch down the stretch is tough.
Yeah.
But they get one more win, they're bowl eligible, and I think Clark Lee has done a fantastic job. Vandy.
Yeah, as you look at today, they're in the top 25 now, number 25 in the polls.
Yep.
So that's big for Vanderbilt and big for West End.
And then of course, Texas got their welcome to the SEC moment last night with a 30-15 drubbing by Georgia. I think Texas and Oklahoma are finding out what it's like to be in the SEC.
Yeah.
And then of course, the game you and I both were on pins and needles on. Tennessee with a huge 24-17 win over their rival, Alabama. And man, I was up there, and you could just feel the ground shake when Will Brooks intercepted that pass to seal the game.
Yeah, what an atmosphere is up there, 102,000 people, and to beat Alabama 2 out of 3 years, and we'll get into it more in a few minutes, but to beat them 2 out of 3 years to kind of solidify your place to get a playoff spot. Right, it was a must-win game, 7 games into the season, and that's a must-win game for you. Alabama still had a little leeway there. Now Tennessee didn't, so for them to win that game is huge for those guys.
Absolutely. And then looking at our pro scores, unfortunately the Titans got beat today, 34-10. So that's our weekend scores and review.
Yeah, once again, thank you to Infinity Promotions for sponsoring our scores and recaps. You can reach out to Infinity Promotions at promoplace.com for all your school and personal apparel. Those guys do a great job. They've done a lot of our logo stuff for us, and we appreciate Steven and what he does there for that. But going back to talk about Gainesville just a little bit. Gainesville on a bye week this week. They go to Bledsoe County this Friday night, which is 7-1, and they're tied for second in Region 2A right now at 7-1. So I'm sure Coach Jackson, looking at Bledsoe, another turf hurdle. I mean, you're coming out of region play, you're going to play a higher class, and Bledsoe was no pushover.
Well, it's just stepping up in competition, playing more students. You're going to have more people there. And I was looking at some of the stats. They scored 232 points this year and only give up 79. So their defense is solid. Coming from up east, they're going to be a ground and pound type. They're 3 yards in a cloud of dust. You're going to have some big boys up front. And Gainesville has seen that this year. So I think the boys over there across the river are going to really give them something to deal with on Friday night.
Yeah, we'll have Coach Jackson on again next week to talk about the game, but you look after that is the region title game at Clay County, and We're going to have on here later on Coach Mike Dickerson from Clay County, the defense coordinator there, to talk about that a little bit. But the Gainesville goes to play once again Clay County for the region title at Clay County. But I look at some of Clay County stats, which we'll talk to Coach D in just a little while about. Man, they're putting up some numbers.
They are.
Their quarterback and their receiver combo, which to me, I think they're brothers. Are they either brothers or cousins? They do share the same last name.
Right.
But the stats they're putting on, so that's going to be a big matchup for North in 2 weeks.
Absolutely. And it's came down to them, the last three years?
Yeah.
And maybe more than that. But, it's been that last game of the season for the region championship. Nothing's going to change this year. I know Coach D very well. I know he's going to have his defense ready. But and I also know Coach Jackson's going to have his boys ready to battle that Friday night in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and moving over to the Smith County game. Once again, Smith County goes to Westmoreland in region competition, and lose a kind of a must win to get that home playoff game we talked about a few minutes ago. When they went up there and Westmoreland kind of dominated from start to finish. Smith County had a few chances early on in the game to get down inside the 10. A couple penalties set them back. They didn't score that possession. Then Westmoreland has a fumble that's laying out on the ground that Smith County pounces on and just rolls out from under them, and Westmoreland recovers.
Right. And you look from my perspective in that game, Smith County played a really good first half of football. They maintained the possessions, and it was only a 14-6 ball game going in. And Westmoreland, they rushed the ball, really well. I mean, you look at the stats, and it's just it's kind of eye popping. But Smith County held their own in the first half, and they just second half, Westmoreland just controlled the clock. And man, number 7, I think his name's Cooper White. He had a fantastic game. What 16 attempts for 150 yards. I mean, can't say enough things about him. They've got a 2 or 3 headed monster in that backfield. That's very scary.
And watching that game, you know, when I played for Gorns my senior year, we went to Westmoreland and played, and they had a 2-headed monster in Ryan Gent and Clint Brown, and that's exactly what that team reminded me of watching Friday night. That little running back was great. Yes. He could move, and Smith County had a tough time tackling.
And if you're talking about the number 7, yeah. He's tall and lanky, and man, he's not afraid to run it up in there at full speed and knock you over.
No, and you know, you look at it for Matt and those guys. The bye week comes at a good week for those guys. You know, you've been pounded, you know, outside of the Jackson County game, you know, where you played pretty decent, but you've had a tough stretch of games, and the bye week comes at a critical time for them to go into Monterey to try to solidify that third seeding in their region.
Right, and you look at it, you know, not had a bye week to this point. You know, the injury bug has kind of not hit them. You know, they're all relatively healthy, and to say that, to be as young as they are, it's a testament to the conditioning, to the coaches, and everything to get the boys where they are right now.
And you're going up to Monterey to play that game in 2 weeks, and watching Monterey play Gornsville. You know, they come out in the old style, pound you right in the mouth formation, and just drove right down Gornsville's throat. Yes. And I'm, you know, more likely we'll see that against Smith County as well.
Just like I was mentioning earlier about the Bledsoe boys. You know, when you get up in the mountains, when you get on top of the plateau, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get some bigger boys, some corn-fed boys, and they're going to hit you, and they're going to be there to knock you over.
Yep. You know, and then, you know, we'll talk about Vandy just a little bit more too, you know, moving down to those guys. But having Vandy, you know, struggle with Ball State. They struggled. They were down, you know, going into the fourth quarter, but come back to win that game and then moving to the top 25, like you mentioned. Clark Lee has got Vanderbilt turned around right now. Do I like seeing that? No, not at all. I'm not a Vanderbilt fan. You know, we don't. You know, we want the little brother to stay little brother, right? And you know, it kind of makes you nervous looking toward that last game of the season when Tennessee comes to Nashville.
Well, and it's just a testament. You look at Clark Lee, and from year 1 to year 2, it's. You know, he has got to be a quality coach given their results from last year to where they are this year. Now, Diego Pavia has been playing out of his mind at the quarterback position.
Yes,
and every week he makes 2 or 3 plays that are, I hate to use this term, a Patrick Holmes-esque type play where he's on the run and just throws dime after dime. It's really good to see on West End again. And I'm orange and white through and through, but and I agree with you. We need to keep the little brother down there, but man, kudos to Clark Lee and that group on what they've done so far.
Yep. And then, you know, we talk about Texas and Georgia. You know, what a game that was. And you look at, and I you know, me and my wife talked about it. I picked Texas to win. I figured Texas would go in and just do what they wanted to do against Georgia, and that didn't happen. Georgia's defense really come and played football last night.
It was never a game. I mean, you look. I mean, it was 23-8 in the third quarter. They took out Quinn Ewers. Ewers did not look like the Quinn Ewers that he's looked like. And then they brought in Arch Manning, and he unfortunately didn't look like a Manning last night. So, you know, it was a kind of a humbling for Texas to say, welcome to the SEC. But, you know, Georgia on the Tennessee schedule is very scary. You know.
And go to Athens.
We all thought this going into the season that Georgia probably had the best roster. You know, they stumped their toe against Alabama, but man, it's a murderer's row when you got to play the SEC schedule that some of these teams have to play.
And we wouldn't do ourselves any justice if we didn't talk about the reversal of the pass interference call last night. After the crowd throws the bottles on the field, the refs get together, and I went and I read today, and I saw that the official who made the initial call went back and told the head official, well, I think I made the wrong call. What he probably done, he saw the scoreboard and knew, or the Jumbotron, and knew that he made the wrong call. But I have never, in all my years of watching football, ever see people throw stuff on the field, delay the game, and then the officials get together and change a pass interference call.
It just sets the wrong precedence. I scratch my head sometimes at these things that happen in these games because – there's so much that's up for question, and then you get a call like that you make the call on the field and you don't stick with that call because of a knee-jerk reaction. I just don't think that sets a very good precedence moving forward at all.
It doesn't. It does not. And they've got some healthy fines rolled down to them today, and I was sure that officiating staff is going to be under scrutiny and probably get a call from the SEC head official.
No doubt. No doubt.
So let's move to the matchup of the night for us last night and talk about Tennessee and Alabama just for a couple minutes. And what a game for the Vols to go into Neyland last night. Coming off the close win at Florida, you have Alabama coming in back-to-back weeks. Alabama's a 3.5-point favorite coming into your stadium, and you get the win. Now, was it pretty in the first half? Once again, no. 3 weeks in a row, we didn't score any points. They said it's the first time since 1963 that Tennessee's went 3 games and not scored any points in the first half. But then you come in the second half, and you kind of take over and do what you needed to do to win the ball game.
But thank goodness it's in a beauty contest.
Thank goodness.
And, it's the games aren't played on paper. It was when you can beat Alabama and Florida in 8 days. That's very impressive. You look at Heupel's record; he's 4-2 in his last 6 games against these guys. There's been a lot of questions. I've even questioned myself the quarterback play. It's not been pretty because it's not what you expect from a Heupel-led offense. And again, they get shut out in the first half. I thought this last night. In that game, if you look at it, you look at it from 2 perspectives. If it's the Nick Saban effect, Nick Saban's probably up 3 scores in that by the first half. But on the other side, Alabama didn't play that great, and you're like, well, Tennessee should be up by 3 scores.
Yep.
And then they come out, and finally a receiver made a couple of plays down the field. And the rollout play that Nico had that he hit Dante Thornton on the 60-yard play up the rail.
Yeah.
That was a play that may have turned Tennessee's season around.
It could have. And, you look at it, Nico missed 2 wide-open receivers once again. He's done that 3 games in a row. You look at in the Arkansas game, he missed a wide-open guy running down the seam. Last night, he missed 2 guys running down the seam for a touchdown in the first half. And come back in, like you said, the second half, he ends up with 194 yards and 1 TD, no picks. He had 70-something yards rushing. A big in the third quarter there, I think he had a big run for 28 yards that set him up to get that first touchdown.
Yeah, but you look at it, you can look pretty throwing the ball down the field, but Tennessee's offensive line and their running back really said, Alabama, you're not winning this ball game. And when you look, when have you ever read that Alabama had under 100 yards rushing in a game and was outgained almost 200 by 140 yards? Tennessee had 214 to Alabama 75.
Not much, and watching College Game Day, they talk about Milroy, sitting saying that, Milroy's going to have over 300 yards total offense himself. And to hold him under that, Tennessee's defense has played outstanding.
Yes.
For the complete year. 7 games, they have played outstanding. Last night you had McCoy had the interception in the end zone and almost took it back. He took it back 60-something yards, but played Ryan Williams. I believe it's Ryan Williams.
Ryan Williams, yes.
Played him better than anybody's played him this year and kind of shut him down. He did have 8 catches. He had that 1 touchdown in the end zone, but, they had 18 attempts to him. He only had 8 catches.
That's exactly right. And you look at it, the other thing that I saw in that game was the undisciplinedness of an Alabama squad. And I don't remember, again, over the past 2 decades, an Alabama team being that undisciplined.
No.
You look at they had 15 penalties for 115 yards. The receiver there toward the end of the game that just takes a shot at Arian Carter or Boo Carter. I was like, and Greg McElroy made a point. It was like, that's just an idiotic play to make right there.
But once again, we talk about the officiating, 26 penalties in that game last night. But the one that really baffled me the most is the substitution that Alabama did where they did the whirlwind of players just circling in. They finally got them. And then they sit there and the coach told him to go down on the sideline. If we don't do something about that in college football, the fake injuries is getting way over the top.
That's something that has to be analyzed by the officials and the players that be at the top. Because that's when you see a player just being pushed by a coach. I mean, you feel like he blew his knee out. And it's just, again, I go back to what I was saying. It's just something that's got to be examined and looked at moving forward.
Well, we can't, we beat them. We're going into a bye week, and then you have Kentucky come to town. You're going in 6-1. You're feeling good. You're under, no, you're 2-1 in SEC play. You're sitting in third right now. You win out, you're going to make the playoff. Really, we talk about it all the time. Everybody wants to be the SEC champion, but now, do you want to not play in an SEC championship game, but still make the college football playoff and be rested for an extra week?
Right. And Tennessee controls their own destiny. I still believe a 2-loss Tennessee gets in if it's the right loss to Georgia. Yeah. You're still going to have that game on the schedule. Yeah. But you go in, you handle your business, play Georgia tough, let the chips fall where they may, and you may not even want to play in that SEC championship game, honestly, because who knows what's going to happen there. I mean, you do have Texas A&M and LSU, who are both unbeaten in the SEC.
Yep.
So that loss yesterday by Texas really jumble things up.
It does. If you make the SEC championship game with 2 losses and you lose that, your 3 losses, you're pretty much not getting in the playoff.
Absolutely.
So you're right. You probably want to bypass that.
Absolutely.
But moving on from that, we'll bring up head coach for Smith County High School, Coach Matt Dyer. He'll come up and join us here, and we'll talk a little bit of Smith County football.
Good afternoon, Coach.
Hey guys, we're doing all right.
Coach Dyer, good to see you again.
Good to see you fellas, man.
We had you back up come in for you last week. We know you was out of town for a little while, but we had backup come in, and glad to have you back this week with us.
I'm glad to be back, man. I miss getting to talk to you guys. And I asked Coach Hack, I said, how'd it go? He said it went pretty well. So I enjoy what y'all do, and I enjoy getting to do it. Here at Nobles with y'all.
Yeah,
I think y'all do a great job doing this, and I look forward to doing it. My son, my 7-year-old, he almost came with me. He said, "Can I go to a Dugout Dance?" I was like, "Why, yeah." But his cousin was with him, so they're out doing their thing. So a little more important to go play with cousin than it is come
of course
talk on the radio with Dad. But
well, let's talk about a little bit about Friday night. We didn't get the results we wanted. Once again, we wanted to win out where we could get that home playoff. And that kind of knocks us out of that, but we're still in the playoff hunt. Talk a little bit about the game Friday night, what you saw, and anything that you think you need to fix going into next week.
The biggest thing is just continue as a staff, as coaches, try to find ways to just get our guys the ball. Trying to get our playmakers the ball in space. We know who our guys are that can do things with the football, and it's our job to try to make things as simple as possible and easy as possible to get them the ball. Guys like Cole Hackett, Kate Mason, Jermaine Kaysen, White Claywell, Riley Martin, and there's a few, Lucas Cornwell. Those are the guys that we really, Spencer Estes. We got guys all over the place that we try to get the ball, try to get involved, try to create our mismatches. But the biggest thing, I'm just proud of our guys. I'm proud of their resiliency that they've showed all year. We're a young bunch. I know we say it each and every week. It's like playing a bunch of 15-year-olds against a bunch of 18-year-olds. When you think about that, going to a boxing match, that'd be like my 7-year-old getting in a boxing match with, a 5th grader right now. He's in the 2nd grade, 3 years older. So, that's kind of what it is with high school football. You get one kid who's been in the weight room for 1 year against a guy who's been in the weight room for 3 or 4 years. It makes a big difference, but, not an excuse. We still got to execute better, and got to coach better, got to do all these things better. But I am proud of our guys. I'm proud of their fight, because each and every week, they're fighting for 4 full quarters. They give it all they got. They don't leave nothing out there. They got a lot of grit about them, and they just continue to fight and play, and just keep the heads up and play to the best of their effort. And biggest thing is playing Westmoreland. They're a really good team. I believe they're 7-1 or 6-1 going in that week, coming off of a bye week, coming off their fall break. They were well rested, and Coach Perry and them do a good job. They got a good staff, and they were well prepared. They're just having a very good year. They beat East Robb. If they beat us, they secured the region championship. If we had beat them, that'd put us one step closer to at least securing that number 2 spot and the home field advantage. We had some chances in that game to either keep it close or keep it within a 1-score game. We had a hard time getting off the field, a lot of 3rd downs, and we allowed Westmoreland to convert. We didn't give up too many big plays. I believe we only gave up 2 plays that were 20+, but we didn't tackle very well, and we didn't do a good job in space. And then offensively, once again, penalties really hurt us. Penalties and negative yardage plays. Once again, we had a good drive where we got inside the 20, I believe, on a 1st and 10, and then we had 2 straight negative plays and a penalty, and went forward on 4th down and didn't get it. And then we had another drive where we got into Westmoreland's territory, had to go backwards, and then we punted it. Bradley Pickett had a great punt, pinned them on the 1 yard line, and then they went 99 yards to score. We converted a first down on one of those drives, and then we had a penalty that negated it, and we had to end up turning the ball over. A couple of drop balls here and there, a couple of misreads, but it's a bunch of young guys making plays, and it's still going to benefit us moving forward. All these young guys, because for the fourth week in a row, we've started 5 freshmen, and those guys are playing their tails off. All of our sophomores that are getting a lot of experience, they're playing their tails off, and all of our guys are, our juniors and seniors too. We just don't have a lot of those guys right now. I think we have 10 upperclassmen, seniors and juniors. But each and every week they continue to play hard, continue to fight. I'm proud of those guys for what they do week in and week out.
So, Coach, you look at it. You touched on the penalties, and I look at this, and I kind of scratch my head. Has there been any indication? Did they give you any indication? There was 23 penalties in that game for 230 yards. Are the referees telling you anything? Are they looking for more, or what is it?
Just a little bit of undisciplined ball on each side. Had a couple of holding penalties there, and it's some weird penalties too. I can't remember what it was that I was fussing and fighting about one time. It was one of their first down throws where they had 3 linemen downfield. They had a number 77, and I'm not complaining about calls. You can't allow calls to make or break a game, but just one of those things as a coach. You're sitting there, you're looking at it. It's like they got a big number, the biggest rascal on the field, number 77, and he's further downfield than any safety we have on defense, and they caught the ball. And I'm sitting there trying to tell them, I was like, hey, there's 3 guys right there that are at least 10 yards down the field. And he says, Coach, we just missed it. I was like, how do you miss that big old rascal right there? He's a big one on the field. He's like, Coach, we just miss things sometimes. Well, I reckon. When you start telling, like, we've got it on the sideline view right here, they don't like that either. No. They tell you, like, Coach, I can't look at that. You can't show me that. I wish you would look at it. But, just weird penalties like that. And then, I don't think we had another intentional grounding, but, just undisciplined football that you got to clean up. And, sometimes you expect that from a young bunch, and just things you got to clean up as a squad, as a team.
I look at it, sorry, Jonathan. I look at it, and I watched the game. And you touched on it. You played behind the chains quite a few times. You was inside the 20 a couple of times. You could have done that. One time, a ball landed on the ground that you guys pounced on. It skirts right out under you. Yeah. And Westmoreland falls on it. But we say it every week. We you're just a few plays away from actually your season totally different than what your record looks like right now.
It is, and we talk about that each and every week. You take that turnover right there. I believe it was still a 2-score ball game.
2-score, 14-6.
When we forced that fumble right there, and it just laid on the ball forever. It looked like a grease hog out there, just bumping and rolling, and just rolling around everywhere. And we never got a chance to jump on it or squirt it out a couple of times. But it's a couple of big plays like that. That's what an experienced team always finds ways to make those plays. Yeah. And the more experience we gain, we'll eventually capitalize on those chances, on those big plays. A couple of them the other night. We had the drop across midfield. We had the first down on I think Riley and Cole connected on a 3rd and 31 for a first down. Unreal play by those 2 guys. And it got negated by a illegal procedure. Yes. And that's one of those kind of just weird penalties. It's our guy was just barely moving at the snap of the ball, just trying to get his feet set. Quarterback snapped it too early. That guy, our guy, wasn't set, or just a side judge not telling our receiver if he's on or off. Our guys come to the sideline and say, Coach, he's not letting me know. And then they call one of our guys for having too many in the backfield. And our guy thought he was on the line of scrimmage. Just little things like that. A couple of, and every week we've had a handful of those plays that when the game is tight, when it's a 1-score game, tie ball game, or when you have a chance to make it a 1-score game and make it a ball game, we just haven't capitalized on those opportunities yet. But it's season's not over yet. We got a bye week this week, got another game, and we got at least another playoff game. And while things happen in the playoffs, I always tell people, look at, I know it was ancient, to me now, and you say 2005, that's nearly 20 years ago, 2 decades. But in 2005, the Livingston team went in as a 4 seed at 5-5 and won a state championship. And I'm no way comparing us to that Livingston team because they were a very, very good football team. They were a well-experienced football team. But I know a lot of people around here remember that team. And 5-5 is a 4 seed, and you can go on to win a state title. So a lot of crazy things can happen when playoffs roll around.
Just getting in. That's all you want to do at this point, because at that point you're all 0-0.
Yep.
Week to week.
Yeah, and we'll look. We talk about that. We're going to, you're off this week, and I told Jonathan earlier, it's a good time for you guys to be off. Give you a little bit of rest in there, get some guys healed up, and then go to Monterey once again. Try to solidify that third seed that that gets you a little closer to home.
Oh yeah, and that 3rd seed, it's a lot better than the 4th seed. This 4th seed, more likely, they're going to have to go all the way to Marion.
Yeah.
3rd seed, it'll be a little bit closer, where we would probably travel. And the other region has long. They still got to play. Their 2 more games too. But it's a lot better to go to either Forest or Fayetteville, because that's a lot closer than having to go to Marion. Yeah. Those long trips, you never know what's going to happen. A lot of things that can be distracting on those long trips that you got to go to. But yeah, you can still go in, and we still got to compete against a very good Monterey football team. They're up and down, but they're very big. They got a big back. I believe the Bowman kid, whose brother's up at Tennessee Tech right now. He's a big old rascal, and he carries the ball, runs tough, runs hard. But I feel like we match up very well with them, and it's like I said, it's got another game to play. But we get to rest a lot of guys this week. We've been dying for a week to kind of rest our guys up, all the bumps and bruises and everything. Little knee tweaks, hamstring tweaks, shoulder. Stuff like that. It seems like we got a bunch of guys right now that are, nursing some type of injury like that. We got White, Claywell, Colt Shoemake, of course, Gage and Jaden. I think they're already declared, maybe done for the year. I don't know. But we got a bunch of those, and Ben Howe. We got a bunch of guys right now that we need to get back to that Monterey game so we can be relatively close to full strength.
And then really the last thing for me here, then we'll let Jonathan talk about the player of the week with you, is, we talked to Brett last week about reclassification that happened. You look at it, and Gorson moves up to 2A. So we look at it now, and we, I told Jonathan was going to talk to you a little bit about it too, but that you guys in the same region, if that falls that way, wow, what a new matchup, what a new enticement for that game to be a region game now. And I told them, and I don't know how you feel about it. I'm sure I don't see it being week 1 anymore.
No, it won't be week 1. One thing they set the region, TWA sets the region calendar now, and all region games are week 3 to week 11. But like you said, it puts a little bit more incentive on that game.
Yeah.
Where prior it was just a bragging rights game. A great, huge community event that everybody has fun with and enjoys. Now it's got a little bit more merit, a little bit more weight to it, to where it does that, because that's always kind of been the things like, hey, whether you win or lose, don't let it make or break your season. It has no playoff implication. It's just a county rivalry game. Have fun with it. You get bragging rights for 365. But now it does got a little more weight to it. If the chips fall that way, where we are in the same region, then also you get the chance of maybe playing twice a year, where you can meet up in the playoffs. And I ain't gonna lie, that would be one heck of an atmosphere. Whether it's at the hole or in the jungle, that if it's a playoff game and one gets to continue to play and one's got to go home, man, that'd be a huge environment, electric atmosphere to play in if that ever comes to fruition right there. But I definitely would enjoy if I get to be a part of that in the coming years, just to experience that type of atmosphere and type of layout.
A playoff game between Gordon and Smith County would be a lot of tension in this county.
Huge,
Jonathan, if you want to talk about the player of the week, go right ahead.
So, Coach, this week, player of the week, sponsored by #Hollies and Be the Gift, is Riley Martin. If you want to touch base on him this week and his play.
Riley, he's our sophomore starting quarterback. Last year he started as a freshman. Really, Riley is still learning how to play the quarterback position. He's a great athlete. He's a great young man, very smart, great student athlete, and just a great young man overall. But like I said, he's still learning the quarterback position because he's a baseball guy that is playing football, and he's a great pitcher. He's getting looks from everywhere, SEC schools, big schools. Very talented young man in everything he does, and so him making the type of plays he makes right now. He's a big kid. He's a very mature, well-developed guy, strong arm. He's fast. He's very athletic. We're trying to find more ways to use his legs in our offense, and he does a great job of creating plays off script whenever he sees that he doesn't like something downfield, that he can just tuck it and run, pick up a first down. I really like the connection that him and Cole have really developed the last few weeks when, us moving Jermaine to running back due to injury and putting Cole kind of in that starting Z slot that we have. Those two guys, they've been throwing the ball back and forth to each other since they were in middle school. And I think it's paid a lot of dividends, them two being able to make plays, even with that, the first down play that got called back to the penalty, that was kind of off script moment where they told us on the sidelines, like, hey, Cole just come to the huddle and said, I know y'all called stops right there, but I told Riley, he's like, hey, I can get that guy to bite and just hit me on stop and go. And sure enough, he nailed him, boom, put it right on the money. And like I said, 3rd and 31, they picked up that play. And, the fact that they kind of have that, rapid with each other where they can do that, that's just a special relationship that those two guys share. But, Riley, he's gotten better each and every week. And like I said, especially where he's still learning that position, being a quarterback. He's just been doing it for 3 years. He's always been one of the more athletic guys on the field. And I believe Friday night put him over the 1,000-yard mark for the season. And so, last year he threw for just a hair under 1,900 yards. He ran for over 150, so he had over 2,000 total yards last year. He's over 1,000 passing yards this year, and I believe 200 rushing yards this year. That for the fact that he's been able to do that this year with just a young team that we have and the great teams that we've played. I believe, Westmoreland top 10 2A, DeKalb at one point was top 10 4A, Macon top 10 4A, Upperman top 10, East Robb top 10, Gordonsville top 10. I mean, 3/4 of our schedule has been top 10 teams in their respective classifications. So we've played really good competition. We've not had a break all year. And, for the fact that he just keeps competing week in and week out. And it's not just Riley, too. It's everybody around him. It's our offensive line having great protection for him. It's our receivers running routes, catching the ball. It's our backs being able to pick up stuff in the run game. So it's a team effort that, he's able to do the things that he does. But, I'm proud of Riley that he was able to get this, recognition for being player of the week. And I'm proud of him. I'm proud of the steps that he's taken to become, a better football player and a better quarterback each and every week.
Well, Coach, have a good off week. Look forward to hearing you come on after Monterey.
Yeah. Well, before I go off, I just want to give a shout out to our soccer team and volleyball team.
Yep.
Both of them making the sub-state in their respective sports. That's awesome. It's awesome for Smith County High School. It's awesome for Smith County High School volleyball and Smith County High School soccer. And I'm just proud of all those student athletes to represent our school, our community, in our town. And so I just want to say congratulations to, Coach Wassell and Coach Carissa Hackett and the high school volleyball team and high school softball team. Soccer team, sorry.
And, hey, we've got a special guest here with us tonight that finished top 10 in the state that's going to come on with us in a little bit, Landon Kent, on the golf team.
Hey, well, at church this morning, we got Coach C, and, we congratulated him, too, for taking golf to state. So get a shout out to the golf team, too. For making, state as well. It's a good time to be a Smith County Owl right now with all this success that we have. And I'm proud of it.
We got Connie Holder and her cross country team that, trying to get to the state tournament as well. I mean, Smith County is
everybody, man.
Smith County in general right now.
I don't have a wife up here with a calendar. She's the one that kind of keeps me in line.
Yeah.
So I forget a lot of stuff.
That's all right.
But, just everybody just
yes, sir.
To them. I'm proud of everybody,
Yep.
And I hope they continue to have success. And, guys, I'm proud of y'all. Thank y'all for having me on and doing this. I think it's great that y'all do all this for our community and our guys and everything.
Coach Star, we appreciate you, too.
Guys, appreciate y'all, man. Y'all have a good one.
Yes, sir. Like I said, we got a bye week coming up with the Owls, so that helps them and gives them a little bit of time off, to get rested up to go to Monterey up on the mountain and play those guys.
Right. And, our player of the week, Riley, we've watched him all season, and I feel like he is starting to see the field better now than he was to start the season.
We're going to shift gears. We're going to bring on Clay County defensive coordinator and principal, Mike Dickerson. We'll bring Coach D up here and talk to him. Coach D, we appreciate you coming up and joining us tonight.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank y'all.
We talked about, going back to Coach D, and we had a few of some players that played for Coach D up here before, and me and Coach D go way back with the whole Dickerson family. We know those guys forever, and I appreciate you coming out and I love what you've done with your career so far. You know, you've a head coach at Smith County. You played college ball. You played at Smith County. You moved on to Clay County, and now you took on the principal role. You know, talk a little bit about the principal role before we get into, talking about football. But coming from just being a football coach and a teacher to the principal role, the transition there a little bit.
So, one, being a head coach and being a principal is very similar. You're running a system. You got to have people under you that you trust to do their jobs. Of course, you got a boss over the top of you. You got to do what they say. I'll say, at Clay County, we have a relatively small school, just a little over 300 students in the building. It kind of reminds me of how Carthage was back in the 80s. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but in a positive way, where you had the small town community feel. Everybody knew everybody, and that's kind of how it is there. I'm dealing with third and fourth generations of students. Their grandparents come while I was here and there, and so. But it's really just going in and just making sure everybody's kind of where they need to be and doing what they're supposed to. It's not any different than being a head football coach.
Yeah, we talk about, we're moving over to the football aspect, being a head coach at Smith County, head coach there for
6 years.
6 years. And then you move there, go to Clay County for a little while, then move to Lebanon, correct, for a year. Is that right?
19, I was at Clay.
Yep.
20, I went to Lebanon, and then 21 came back to Clay and been there ever since.
Yeah, and we're looking at, we're looking at your stats here. Me and Jonathan was talking earlier, and I look, you being the defensive coordinator, but your offensive stats that you guys are putting up right now, me and Jonathan was talking earlier, is like, wow.
Yeah.
Your quarterback apparently is a stud guy. And I'm looking at his stats. Senior Nate Adams, 1,952 yards, 26 TDs.
Yeah.
I mean, what a season, and 9 games into the year.
Well, Nate's been one of those. He started ever since he was a freshman. Knew he was going to be a good player. Of course, we had Keaton Arms, who was also a really good quarterback for us there. And, Keaton got injured. Nate come in and played a big part of the year. So, he's had stats all 4 years at quarterback. He's got a younger brother, Nolan Adams, who, you can tell they've been in the backyard and they've thrown the ball a few times.
Yeah, look at him. He's got 933 receiving.
Yeah, so, and of course, we got Lance Burchett, who's another weapon for us. And we're very fortunate. Nate knows where to throw the ball, when to get it out. He's very poised. Very seldom makes a mistake. So, we're very blessed to have him.
And you look at him on the defensive side, he's got 6 interceptions leading your team on defense.
Well, he's got 30 for his career. He's a very, very intelligent ball player. He's a great athlete, has a great skill set. But to me, the greatest thing that he has is he's very intelligent. He can see things being set up that, you just can't teach a kid. And so he's, I think three of his interceptions this year are pick sixes. He knows what to do with the ball when he gets it in his hands.
Wow.
So, Coach, you look back at your tenure here. You were 33 and 34. You were, I think, 2017 was your best year here. 4 3A champs, and you were also, and I think this record still stands today. Y'all scored the most points of any Smith County team in 422 points. So, talk about, you're the DC at Clay County, and of course, in 2022, y'all were runner-up state in the state championship game. Which, congratulations, you lost to a very good McKenzie team. But kind of talk about your tenure here and what's led you to be the DC when your offense seems to be just rocking and rolling.
I was an assistant coach here for 18 years. Was blessed to be on some really good teams there that we had there. Matt Dyer, of course, being one of those that we coached back in the day. And when Coach Maynard and Coach Gentry and the crew left, I was hired as the head coach. And I'm not going to lie, I never really had the aspirations of being a head coach. It was one of those things that just kind of was there, presented itself. And So I got the opportunity, and like you said, 2017 was our best year. Of course, Carson Hackett, and Shimmy, and Jalen Shepperson, and Bryant Gooseby. We had some really good ball players.
A lot of talent that year. Yeah.
Yeah, you could take that ball club and win today. So, after 6 years, it was time for me to kind of get a change. I was burnt out. It weighs on you a lot being a head coach in your hometown, especially, and didn't know what direction I was going to go. But Jake Johnson was the head coach at Clay County at the time, and I saw that he had an opening. I called. I said, "Look, I don't know if you need a no burnout coach or not, but I said if you would let me, I'd like to come up there and just try to help you." I said, "I really don't want to coordinate nothing. I just want to be a get back coach." And he said, "Come on." And so that's kind of how I got started there, and been the defensive coordinator now for 5 years there. We've had some really, during that time, as good a talent in Clay County as you could say any small school in the mid-state. I never would have thought that I would have left Smith County and went to Clay County and ended up going to a state championship game. So it's one of those things that the Lord truly blessed me there, and I've made some wonderful lifelong friends up there, and it's one of those things that just happened to turn out to be the right move.
And Coach, we would be remiss, it's not this week, but next week is the big matchup for the region championship game against Gornsville.
Yeah.
Tell us what you've seen from them, and what do you expect in 2 weeks?
Well, one, Coach Jackson and his staff always do a tremendous job. Having a great year. I know they suffered a couple of injuries that's hurt their program, especially their running game. Of course, Jay didn't get to play at the start of the season, so they really hadn't had all the pieces that they thought they were going to have, but they're doing a great job of kind of using who they got, and they're always tough to prepare for. You're going to see a bunch of different formations from them and a bunch of different ways to try to get their playmakers the ball. Of course, Jay's a great athlete, and he can scramble and keep plays alive. And Coach Jackson does a really good job with his defense. They kind of play that bend a little, but they're really hard to score on. And I just hope that we can have an opportunity to be there in the fourth quarter with them.
Yeah, look at you're talking about your season just a little bit. You guys are sitting at 6-2. You're 2-0 in the region. Charleston County comes to your house next week to finish out that, and then you like Dawson said, Gornsville comes for that region championship. But I also want to pose the question, like I did, Coach Dyer, reclassification affects you guys as well, because Gornsville now leaves Region 1A, which makes you guys the front runner pretty much every year, in my opinion, that you guys are there. In that, I'm sure they may or may not replace somebody with, for Gornsville, but that makes you guys the front runner in that 1A region now.
Well, they'll have to replace somebody. There will be a first round bye if they didn't, because we would just have a 3-team region at that time. So somebody will have to come in. But I don't know about that. I know Joe Burns has some pretty good athletes coming back next year. That's a tough place to go and play. So, Gornsville going out definitely is a little easier for us, I'll say. Just like Monterey going out was easier on us when they went out. Yeah. So used to be a really, really tough region just to get in the playoffs. And, I heard you guys talking. That'll be one region matchup game that I'd like to see here maybe next year if I got the opportunity. So, but I don't know what the TSSAA will do. I'm sure they've got a plan. Of course, I'm not even sure it's completely done with all the appeals and who's going to move and whatnot. So some things could still change. Right. We'll just have to wait and see.
Well, Coach, we certainly appreciate you coming on. It's always a pleasure to see you. Doing a great job. Good luck on your rest of the season.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Coach D, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Good, having Coach D come on, and like we've talked about it numerous times, man, just to have the local ties that we have that are now
coaches of some aspect.
Coaches of aspect that that's not that come from the county
Yes.
and coaching and doing well to other players. We've had Chuck Gentry that led me head coach. Coach D, who's been a head coach of Smith County and now DC. There, we got so much coaching talent that's not in Smith County. It's just amazing to me right now.
Well, it's a coaching tree. It's become you've got so many other areas where of players that are coaches that have been players that are now coaches. So it's just a testament to the way things were ran. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Jimmy Maynard.
Yeah,
he was the principal when I was there. He was the head coach of the football team, and a lot of these coaches that are here and players that are now coaches learned a lot from Coach Maynard, and a huge shout out to him. He done a great job when he was here. He done a great job when he was at Murfreesboro, Riverdale.
Yeah.
But kudos to Jimmy Maynard, and it's a testament to what he started and what he built here.
Yeah. So now we'll continue on. We're going to bring up Kanya Holder, who is our Smith County High School cross country coach. Not only does she coach cross country, she's our softball coach as well.
Thanks, Miss Connie, for coming on.
Coach Holder, we appreciate you coming on, and we reached out to you, and we're trying to follow, all of our sports in our county, not just Smith County, but Gorgeville as well. That don't get the recognition that football, baseball, the top three get, right? So we want to bring you guys on. We want to highlight your team, and like we talked about in the press box a couple weeks ago, you guys are state tournament every year almost.
That's three, yeah.
Yeah. So that's great to see in cross country, right? And that's great to see that. The program that you created and not created, but are coaching and now seeing you guys make state tournament, that's a testament of what you've done, and kudos to you.
Well, thank you. I've got some great kids and been blessed the past couple of years. When I started, of course, softball and cross country, both at the same time. And Matthew Sinclair, I think he didn't run his freshman year. He got hurt playing football. But he was the first one we had, or that I had to go to state. So, he worked really hard at it as well as the rest of these guys do too. So we enjoy running. Yeah.
So, Coach Holder, from my perspective, tell us how it works. I'm kind of cross country illiterate, so kind of tell us. And you said who you got with you here?
This is Aiden Elliott.
Aiden Elliott.
Yes, he's a senior this year.
If he would like to speak, just kind of tell us how that works and what goes into it.
Well, it's unlike a lot of sports. There's no circumstances that can change things besides just how much you train. It's one of those things, just like a track and field. It's just how much you train, and you really reap what you sow in that. We run 5Ks, so that's our races.
So 3.1.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
sir.
3.1.
Yeah, every cross-country race is a 5K, and so it's not like track and field with a bunch of different events, but it does tie in with track and field. It's just later in the spring. But yeah, every race is a 5K, and it sounds simple, and for the most part it is until you go do it. Because
when you're out there with 800 people.
Yeah, when you're doing it, you got to think some races we'll go to and there won't be a lot of people, and then some will go to and there've been like 600, running at once, and that's a big factor on how you do. And another thing is, like, sometimes a runner one day will run, all 3 miles they'll run 6-minute miles, so they'll come in 18 minutes, and then another day they'll come in 20 minutes because you don't know when you're out there with how fast you're running. Some people, every course is different. Every course is going to feel different, and it seems simple, but it's a whole lot more complicated when you're doing it.
So as far as advancing, we talk about going to the state. Tell us about when that is. Has it already been, or where are we at in that standpoint? Is it district, region? Where are we at?
So we don't have a district, I don't believe.
No, we have an association championship, which that was just this past weekend that we went and run. And that's where we fall in there with Liberty Creeks, Merrill High, DCA, all these big schools. That's a lot of them. That's all they do is run,
Right.
And not a lot of others. So some of those kids are running 15s and 16s. So Aiden here's got low 18s. He's been running really well this year. But we got one meet this week, one more regular meet. We'll be at York, and then we go for our state qualifier. We'll be at Macon County. So that will be on the 29th. I think it's Tuesday the 29th.
You know, like as Jonathan said, I'm cross country literate as well. So you know, Aiden, we talked to Lynn and Ken a few weeks ago about playing the golf. You know, it's really her against the course.
Yeah.
Is that the same for you? It's you running against you. You're not really running against the other people. You're running against the course.
Yeah. It's very similar to golf because I played golf as well.
He's a golfer.
I'm
Soccer player.
not nearly as good as Landon, but it's really about the course. So some people will be really good at one course and not be good at another. Like Landon, she's really good at a course in Baxter. It's called Southern Hills. You know, she's great at it. I mean, better than most people are. You know, and so some people will come and they'll drown, and she tends to do really well there, better than most. And it's just like that in cross country. If you know, some courses are flatter, some don't have as many hills and stuff, and you usually do better in those. And then some courses are ridiculous. They're a lot tougher.
You get lucky if you get your runner's high.
Yeah.
Those runner's high days, if you don't know what that is, you need to find out what that is. That's great. Runner's high is great.
You know, and Coach, talk about a little, because we don't know. Talk about a little bit at your roster, how your breakdown is between seniors to freshmen. What do you have on your roster right now?
Oh, man. We've got, I have 3 seniors. What? 3 seniors, 3 sophomores, I think, and 4 freshmen. I think
And
that's
2
right.
juniors, I believe.
2 juniors, yeah.
I believe.
And girls and boys, they run separate,
They
correct?
run
Yeah.
separate. Yeah, we train together, but they run separate at the meets. Yeah.
Is there a
Yeah.
limit that you can have? But you have as many as you want?
Have as
or-
many as you want. Yeah, as many as you want. There is to like the team races. So like when they qualify as a team, they'll qualify, you know, with racing 5. So that's how they get their team scores. But most of ours, the ones that went to state, have went individually. So their times have been well enough. Like Aiden's running really good 18s this time. Like Matthew was running in the 17s, you know, when he made state. Lily also was running, I think, 18s when she made it last year.
Wow.
So we've been both in the boys and the girls. We've been the past 3 years. So hoping they run well. Coming up 2 weeks, and
Right.
we get to go again.
And man, that's so you can qualify as a team or you can qualify as an individual.
Yes.
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 Don't worry, Jonathan. They run to the 18s. We probably run in the 70s or
No,
80s. So, you
practice
know.
with us tomorrow. Come on.
No, my running days are over.
Yeah, no.
If-
yeah,
if
you
I-
can see what it's about. It's
if-
fun.
If I am running, somebody please look behind me because something is chasing me.
I'm just gonna let it get me. I'm not even
So
running.
you,
So,
you have to start thinking about your diet, what you eat, what you drink. You know, it's all the whole for us. So yeah.
I'm going to leave that to y'all.
yeah. You know, but like I said, you know, Coach Oder, kudos to you what you've done, and you know, like I said, we want to highlight everybody. And you guys, we talked about, you know, making the state. That's huge in this county for anybody to make the state tournament in any sport, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Well, we was fortunate enough 2 years ago. Really went last year, 2 years ago when Matthew was a senior. Matthew Sinclair, he actually placed. So they medaled the top 15, and he was 15. We was literally pushing him, you know. So he was 15. So but he you know, worked hard to get to that too. So
Well, Coach Holder,
Holder.
Aiden, y'all keep us posted on how y'all do. Good
Yeah.
luck to y'all the rest of the way. And we really appreciate you guys coming
And
on.
if you make the
Thank you
state
very much.
tournament, we'll have you back on.
Absolutely.
You know, we'll
All
talk
right.
about if you make the state tournament, we want to have you back on and talk about the experience. We want everybody to know, right? We want to highlight you.
Yeah.
You know, so kudos to you too as well. And Coach Holder, we're going to have you back on again when softball season comes
All
around,
right.
and we'll do it then too.
We appreciate you having us.
Thank you very
Thank
Thanks
you very
so
much.
Man, when she said 15, I'm like, minutes? I'm like, that is
I can't run 100 yards in 15 minutes, probably.
no. It takes a sundial for me to run down the 100-yard down the football field.
Yeah, I'm not. To see those kids and to do what they do, though, you know, that's dedication. To want to go run is dedication. I don't
Yes.
even like to walk a lot,
No.
so to want to go run,
Yes.
that's dedication.
Huge dedication. And
Yeah.
and kudos to them for
Kudos
making the
to
state tournament.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of great things that people don't know that's going on. And that's what we're trying to do here. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get recognition to everybody because like you said, when she went up, you know, you kind of get lost in translation with football, basketball, and baseball. That's at every school
It is.
until you get to the bigger schools. And you know, we're local, we're small, but we want to highlight everybody.
And, we're going to bring up another guest that wasn't scheduled tonight. And, unfortunately for her, she showed up. We're like, hey, we're bringing you on tonight, too. So we're going to bring up Smith County golf player, Landon Kent.
Hello, Landon.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
Appreciate you coming on with us. So tell us a little bit about your experience. Let's say you're a sophomore, correct? So tell us a little bit about your experience this year at the state tournament as opposed to last year.
Well, last year I kind of went into it not knowing what to expect, and this year I felt a little more ready for it. So I tried to get my team more ready for it, but they were still stressed about it, which I completely understand because last year it was just all over the place. And this year I think I did a lot better considering I knew the course and I just knew what to expect this time.
Right. With local knowledge on a golf course, me being a golfer, you see a course for the first time, it's kind of deer in the headlights.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get more comfortable playing that course year after year. And do you know, are you aware, is it going to be there for is it going to be there next year and the next year, or is it going to be moved? Because back in the olden days, because back when I played, we played at
Yeah, you're pretty
04.
old, but go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
Sorry.
Not as old as you.
Yeah,
We played at Old Fort. So is it going to be at the Sevierville Golf Club the next 2 years?
The next 2 years, definitely. I think they had a contract saying they would play for a certain amount of years. I'm not sure how long, but it is going to be the next 2 years.
Cool.
So talk about the course a little bit. I saw you finished 8th, correct? You finished 8th? Is that right? Ninth in the state. So, hey, finish 9th in the state to me, that's great, right? I don't, how many golfers were in it?
About 50.
Hey, 9 out of 50, I'll take it all day long.
100%.
For me, I'd probably be like 59 out of 50, but hey, it's okay. But talk about the course a little bit, how you, like Jonathan said, how you transitioned from playing it last year to this year. Apparently you finished 9th, so you played pretty good.
Oh, yeah. It's a very hilly course. It's a lot longer than the majority of the courses we play during the season. So obviously for the other, my teammates, it's kind of harder for them to adjust to it. But it's about 7 miles to walk it, up hills.
Wow.
And it's a struggle considering we're pushing carts. Some people carry their bags, and it's just more difficult.
Yeah, and I meant to ask you last time we had you on, and because I always want to know, what is your average drive? What is your average drive? How far are you driving the ball? Because I guarantee you it's farther than me.
Well, my average is 220.
Oh, it's definitely farther than me.
Last year it was only 190.
Wow. So you've gained 30 yards. Wow.
Right. And that's about how it is with all of my clubs, considering that's why I think that I did better, because I knew that I needed to hit it farther, for that course.
So how much golf do you play throughout the week, to the weekend? Because your season's over, I'm assuming now. So
Yes.
from now to your next season, how much golf will you actually play?
Well, there's a simulator in South Carthage
Right, yeah.
that we use because there's not a course anywhere near here.
Yeah.
So we go there. I try to go twice a week at least. Dad kind of pushes me to go a lot more than that, but yeah, we make it. We go on the weekends. So we've played about 3 times this week.
So from year 1 to year 2, you've made this jump. From year 2 to year 3, what do you want to see as an improvement of your game from year 2 to year 3?
I want to see my putting get a lot better, because I feel like the second day it was a struggle on that. Just it being in the morning, all the dew and stuff, it's going to be slower and then it gets faster. And today I want to be more adjusted to it.
Well, and from my experience, I'm just gonna be a coach here for a minute. If you can get out there and play the longer courses to get you adapted to those, that's gonna help you out in the long run. You play Southern Hills, you play at Smithville Country Club. It's great to shoot those scores, but when you get with tournament time, and I know you play on the Sneds Tour, correct, in the summer. So any time that you can get out there and play on a longer course, it's gonna help you in the long run in advancing.
Oh, yes.
Wait a minute, you play on a tour as well? Well, I didn't know this. That's even better. Wow, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Man, that is great. I have learned a lot about, sports that we don't talk about a lot. That's good. That's great, like I said. But congratulations to you for making the state, finishing 9th in the state, and your team. I know you guys won the region, is that right? Or won the region?
Region
for the first time ever at Smith County High School, correct?
Yes.
I mean, so what a great season that was, and you leading them. And I know you only get better from year 2 to year 3, and then from year 3 to year 4. You know, when you become a senior, that's when we really want to see you take off. We want to see you win the state.
Absolutely.
You had Sophie Linder over going for we won it 4 years in a row. We want to see you win it as well.
Absolutely. Landon, thanks for coming on, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.
Yes.
You know, it's great to have these young kids on, and I know her drive is there. You can just see it in her eyes that she's going to get better. You know, me personally being a golfer, I know the challenges that you face. You know, it is like she was talking about. She had some freshmen on her team this year, and that course can really eat you up if you'll let it. And the mentality that you have to play a course that's 7 miles up one side of the mountain and down the other is difficult.
But, you know, the thing I like what she said, though, is Dad's pushing me, right? Dad wants me to work.
Yes.
You know, so, you know, you got somebody behind you that wants you to work like that. You're only going to get better.
Absolutely.
Right? We've been a sophomore right now, finished 9th in the state. Hey,
That's impressive.
So, well, episode 9's over. 9 weeks in. You know, I can't believe that we're in week 9 of the Dugout Dads, but also in week 9 of high school football.
Yes.
You know, 2 more weeks and high school football season's over with. And it seems like yesterday we just started this, and week 1 was Smith County and Gordonsville.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
I mean,
I'm like you. I can't get over this is week 9. You know, it's time to buckle your chin straps, get ready for playoff football. I know both of our county schools are going to compete heavily in their classifications. So, man, it's time to get started on the second season.
It is. You're right. And once again, you know, we want to thank Nobels for letting us host or letting us
Yes.
have our podcast here. Once again, thanks to all of our sponsors with, you know, Kobe McKinney and Infinity Promotions, #Hollies. You know, thank all those guys for being sponsors of the Dugout Dads and letting us do what we enjoy to do, sit up here and talk sports.
Absolutely.
Right. We've been 9 weeks in. We're talking sports, and we can't wait. You know, next week's episode, just to highlight next week's episode just a little bit, is going to be a player segment. You know, we'll talk to Coach Jackson probably too about this week's matchup with Bledsoe, but we're going to have a player segment. We're going to have players come on once again. We're going to try to do that once a month, where it's players only, right? We want to highlight these athletes. You know, to have Landon on a few minutes ago, and then Aiden from the cross country team, but to highlight all these kids. You know, it's about the kids. It's not about the coaches. It's not about the adults. It is about the kids in this county.
Because without the kids, the coaches, it wouldn't be there.
And without the kids, Dugout Dads won't exist.
That's exactly right.
You know, so, you know, once again, you know, thank them to that, and thank all of our sponsors once again. And hey, week 9 in the books. Can't wait for next week.
And thanks to our producer, Matthew.
Thanks to Matthew Inyart for being our producer every week. You know, we can't forget about him behind the scenes. You know, all of our slides that come up and him doing what he does, we can't would be not nice of us not to give kudos to him as well.
Absolutely.
But from the Dugout Dads, where our skills are questionable,
but our spirit is unstoppable.
Until next week.